Hi, my name is Dave. Today we're going to look at something a little unusual for me. I don't usually do spotter scopes, but this is a Zeiss, and it's a spectacular Zeiss. This is a Zeiss ASM or Asem, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's an 80mm spotting scope, big, monstrous spotting scope. And what attracts me the most is this wonderful turret, this completely complicated device back here. And it's vintage, maybe 1940 or so, 1941. And it's a wonderful spotting scope. Pretty heavy though. This thing weighs about 12 pounds. I want to point out the tripod is not original. This is a semi-replica that I made. I tried to duplicate as much as I could what Zeiss might have done. And as a matter of fact, we have pictures of a binocular version of this called an Asem B. Anyway, and it has a tripod that looks at least something like this. So I tried to get that as best as I could. To put this on the mount, this thing has a screw thread there. So you match this up with the top of the tripod. This is original. This is the same as would have been on original. This is, of course, my duplicate. And Zeiss probably would have had a special wrench for this. It just takes a simple pin here, bolt would do. Now it's nice and tight. This will lock it down in azimuth, as you can see. This is a friction clutch for altitude. For being as old as this thing is, it really works quite well. It's smooth. You can engage just a little bit of friction if you want to. Probably want to leave that friction about where it is. Take the cap off, of course. Let's start with the lowest power. Let's see. Well, I can't see much because I'm indoors. Now let me give you a close-up of the focusing mechanism. Each of these lenses focuses individually. It has a 12, 20, and 40, and each one is about like so, and then you would go up to the next power. You may not have heard that, but there's a little detent in there. It clicks in right about there. And then this focuses like so. And then the highest power, 40 power. Click it into the detent. There you go, like that. There's a peep scope finder here on the top. Like many of these things, this is somewhat dangerous. It's kind of sharp and it's projecting here a little bit, so you have to be careful not to run into that. But that'll get you somewhere close. Of course, with the 40 power, you're still going to need to use the low power to start with and use this pointer to get you somewhere close to it. Nice scope, isn't it? There were several different versions of this scope over the years. This is an early one, I think 1920s probably or so. They started about 1920 or so, I think. Interesting, isn't it? Very different in appearance, but the same scope. It's the same basic scope. Now this one has a yoke kind of a mount. Here's another version, and they went to a kind of a single post sort of a mount for a while, apparently. Here's another. This is very similar to this scope, only this has got the single post kind of a mount also. And then this one with the yoke kind of a mount. This is the latest, I believe, the last ones they made. There was also a 60mm version. Well, it wasn't a version of this scope because this is only 60mm, But in other ways, it was very similar. It had at least some of them had the wonderful turret on the backside and so forth. Wonderful stuff from Zeiss. Let's give you a good look all the way around this thing. This one was dropped at some point, got a pretty good ding there. But it's a Zeiss. Zeiss could take a lot of punishment before it's broken. Isn't that a beautiful spotting scope? I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the Zeiss ASM telescope. Thank you very much for watching.